There are times when we lose someone and we don't fully grasp what they meant to us, what they meant to the industry, to the culture, to us as storytellers, until we're focused to see it all in retrospect. When the headlines fade and the news cycle moves on, we're left with the work, with the films, with the echoes. And sometimes those echoes speak louder than anything left behind. This is Legacy on Screen. And today we remember the life, artistry, and enduring impact of Rob Reiner, a filmmaker, an actor, a voice of conscience, and one of the most quietly essential contributors to American cinema in the last 50 years. Rob Reiner was born into legacy, the son of the legendary Carl Reiner, a comedic architect of the golden age of television. Carl wasn't just a funny man, he was a force. A writer, performer, and creator who helped shape some of the most iconic moments in television history, including The Dick Van Dyke Show, Your Show of Shows, and dozens of groundbreaking specials. He understood structure, he understood timing, and he understood people. Rob absorbed all of it, but he never coasted on his father's name. What he inherited wasn't access, it was instinct. And those instincts were on full display when a young Rob Reiner first stepped into the public eye as Michael Stivic, Meathead, on All in the Family. It's easy to forget how radical that show was. It wasn't just a sitcom, it was a powder keg. And Rob stood at the head of it, the liberal son-in-law clashing weekly with the conservative Archie Bunker in living rooms across America. All in the Family didn't just entertain, it confronted. And Rob Reiner, even then, wasn't afraid to stand in the fire. But his truest contributions came when he moved behind the camera. His first feature as director was This Is Spinal Tap, a satirical masterpiece that didn't just launch 1,000 jokes, but redefined how comedy could function in a mockumentary. It was clever, it was subversive, and it showed that Rob Reiner wasn't just capable of directing, he could innovate. And then came the run. Few filmmakers have had 5-film stretch like Rob Reiner did in the 1980s and early 90s. In 1986, Stand By Me, a coming-of-age story with real emotional weight, a film about childhood, loss, and the scars we carry. The Princess Bride, 1987, a meta fairy tale that blended romance, fantasy, comedy, and heart into something timeless. When Harry Met Sally, 1989, a romantic comedy that didn't insult our intelligence, but instead invited us into something real, awkward, and unforgettable. Misery, 1990, a psychological thriller adapted from the great Stephen King that proved Reiner could shift tone without losing depth. A Few Good Men in 1992, a military courtroom drama with cultural staying power. You can't handle the truth isn't just a line, it's a landmark. These weren't just good films, they were lasting films. Films that entered the room, that entered the lexicon. Films that made us laugh, cry, think, sometimes all at the same time. And it didn't stop there. He followed with The American President, Ghosts of Mississippi, The Bucket List, All projects that might not have shaken the box office in the same way, but still carried emotional clarity and a deep belief in character-driven storytelling. What set Rob Reiner apart wasn't genre, it was humanity. He was never chasing the big thing. He was crafting stories that felt lived in. Stories where the tension came from relationships, from memory, from longing, from what wasn't said. He didn't need CGI. He didn't need spectacle. He just needed a camera, an actor, and a moment of truth. But Rob Reiner wasn't just a filmmaker. He was a voice of conscience in the public sphere, an activist, a fierce advocate for democracy, social justice, and media responsibility. He spoke out against corruption. He supported voter access. He defended the power of storytelling to shape public thought, and he did it boldly. He didn't separate art from responsibility. He understood that if you've been given a platform, you better use it for more than just applause. And that's why his passing was so devastating. It wasn't just the loss of a director. It was the end of an era. On December 14th, 2025, the world was stunned by the tragic news that Rob Reiner and his beloved wife, Michelle, had been found dead in their Los Angeles home, victims of a violent act that shook the industry at its core. The devastation was compounded by the heartbreaking detail that the suspect arrested in connection with the case was their own son, a truth too painful to reconcile even today. Hollywood is no stranger to loss, but some legacies are so deeply entwined in our cultural fabric that their absence feels disorienting. Rob Reiner was one of those voices. He gave us stories that made us feel understood. He helped us grow. He reminded us of who we were and who we still could be. And now we carry that forward. Because legacy doesn't live in the headlines. It lives in the scenes we replay in our minds. It lives in the quotes that sneak into conversation. It lives in the kids who still dress as Wesley and the adults who still whisper, "As you wish," or "I'll have what she's having." It lives in the tension of a courtroom drama, the loneliness of a typewriter in a snowy cabin, the warmth of a train ride back home. It lives in us. Rob Reiner wasn't loud. He was steady, and his work, his presence, was a gift. So today we pause, we honor, we remember. Thank you, Rob, for your heart, your voice, your vision. You didn't just direct films, you directed our hearts, our feelings. And we are forever changed because of it. This is Legacy on Screen. I'm Dr. A.Y. Heath. You can call me Angel. And today we remember, as we always will.